Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Your First Fly. We all been here. You have bought your first vise, you have bought your bobbin. You kind of know how they work, but you haven't really got the courage or the knowledge or the inspiration to use it. In this video, I'm going to show you a quick, easy way and a good way to tie your first fly. And we're going to start with actually one of my first flies. This is an Egg Sucking Leech. I know it's a funny name. And this fly can imitate, of course, a leech or a small fish or a little insect under the surface. And with this big, heavy head here, it sinks nice and good to the bottom. Before we start tying this fly, we're going to attach a bead so it sinks nice and good to the bottom. And I'm going to use a brass bead, 4 millimeters, in nice fluo orange, so it's really visible in the water. And this bead, see if I can show you this, it has one smaller hole on one side and a little bigger hole on the other side. And when you attach this to the hook, always take the smaller hole. So attach it here in the hook and voila, we're done. So now, it might seem a bit tempting to attach your hook like this, so you won't touch the little sharp pointy end here, but it's going to be tricky when you attach the tail because it's going to be in the way. So if you can, find your brave heart and put the hook like this. To attach the thread, you're just going to hold it, and now you have to decide whatever you should do, clockwise or anti-clockwise, because you have to do the same turns every time. Because you see here, if I do the same anti-clockwise, I'm going to attach the thread. If I'm then forget which turn I did and going clockwise, you see here, it starts to unravel what I just did. So decide early what direction you want to do and stick to it. Always stick to it. Before we start attaching any materials, I'm going to create a nice even bedding of thread here. And we can take this little stump and just cut it off. Boom. And you shouldn't tie the thread further back than to the barb-ish. Yeah, just with the barb. Now, we're going to add the first material. And I'm going to use a very common material, Marabou feathers. You can see it's very lively and a very spooky-like material, and it's very good to use. So we're going to have a nice, good tail to this. You're going to but you need quite a bunch of material, so don't be afraid to use a lot of it. Just take it and rip it off. And you can do this many times if you like, if you need a fluffy tail. Now it's very tempting to attach a beautiful long tail, which is 2 meters long, but don't do that because the fish might actually just go for the tail and miss the nice hook here. So a common rule you can go for, don't make the tail any longer than the hook itself. So I'm gonna measure a little bit. Yeah, something like that, not even less perhaps. So you measure it, I think it should be right there in length. Then you take your other hand, take it, let go of the other ones. Now this is the tricky part, because when we do the thread turns, we have to do loose turns, because if I go forcefully, you see, it will be just chaos. So be calm with this, and I'm going to show you how to attach the tail, because we want the tail to be on the hook's back, not everywhere around it. So you take very, very gentle thread turns, very gentle like this, 2 turns. And then when you do your third turn, then you can actually use some pressure. We're not going to cut this debris off, not just yet. We're going to use this to build the body a little bit. So we're going to do very nice, gentle turns all the way. It doesn't have to look good at this point, but we're going to need the material. Something like that. Now, when you're going to cut this off, just try to get a lot of it with your fingers, like here, like this, and cut it. There you go. You can trim off the excess, no problem. Nice, and we attach it a little bit more with more thread turns. Now the idea with this fly is it should be a little bit thicker here by the head and thinner all the way to the tail. So it's a nice cone shaped as a fish or as an insect underwater. So we are going to build some of the body up with thread, a lot of thread. So this might take a little while, but it's worth it. Now we're going to attach another material. But first we're going to add some of the body so it's nice and bulky here. It's starting to form a little bit of a bulky body here with a smaller, not waist, but with a smaller tail and a bit of a larger head. This fly is very, very good in the beginning of your fly fishing adventures when you don't really know what to use and you have no idea what insects might be active during this time. Then you can have this. It can imitate an insect, or of course a leech, which is the point of it, but absolutely it can imitate a small fish or a little insect, and with this orange head it's a perfect striking point for the fish. So don't be afraid to use this, and it works surprisingly well. Even though it's a little bit of an ugly duckling, it can turn you into a nice fisherman's swan. There, now we're going to attach the next material, which is called chenille. And it's a piece of a long woolly thread. And before we attach this, I always like to rip off the excess material here. It's so much easier to actually control the look of the fly. As you can see here, I have exposed a little bit of the original thread, as you may call it. So we're gonna take this part and we're gonna you remember what I said? 2 gentle thread turns. So 1, 2, and the third one, press. Now it sticks. We're gonna take the thread and tie it all the way here to the front with the hook eye. Now we're gonna do turns with this one instead. So we have one here and one there. Try to do as even as you can. Here. Now to attach this, it's actually quite easy. You see I have the thread here and here I have the chenille. And now you just take the thread and just fold it over like this. And then another time, fold it over and press. You can do this many times as you like. So there. And now, once we've done that, we are free to cut this excess off. Perfect. Gonna secure this a little bit more. There's a lot of different ways to finish off this fly. But because of this big bulky head here, I'm going to show you a quick way to attach the knot very easily. You take your 2 fingers, place them here, and you take your thread, and you see I do a little loop here. And that loop, I could place it right under here, pull it, always pull the thread. I'll take away your fingers and just start, you see, there. You do the same again, 2 fingers, fold it, this little loop, put it here, and just very nice and easy, there. You can do this 3 or 4 times if you like. There. Now you have finished your fly, the thread won't go anywhere, and you can just trim this. And there you have it, your first fly. And don't be afraid to use this fly. I've used it and I've caught fish on it, so go for it.